Pac-Man, Katamari, Soul Calibur. Oh, hey, Wayne. Super Mario World Medley. I have to cross that one off because we've done it. We haven't played it live yet, but it's created and it's done. So that's not a wish list anymore. It's on the thing. Secret of Mana, Legend. Yeah. I want to do a Yuzo Koshiro. Yuzo's a buddy of mine, but something with Streets of Rage, ActRaiser, and Shenmue all in one would be cool. DMC4, the prologue, Out of Darkness, amazing opera. Centipede, Monster Hunter, Top Gear is big in Brazil. No one's here has ever heard of it. Star Fox, Okami, Passion from Kingdom Hearts 2, Phoenix Wright, Legend of Dragoon, Donkey Kong 1 and 2. We do a Donkey Kong Country segment now, but I want to do a symphony one. Xeno, Blades and Gear,
Yeah!
Mega Man X, huge in Mexico and Brazil. Guilty Gear, hell yeah. Gradius, we gotta do an FX6 thing. And the opera too, I gotta put that.
Yes. GSO can help you with that.
Okay, Valkyrie Profile. Nier and Bastion, I wanna do some indie games too. You know? Why do I have that twice? It's that good, I really wanna do that. Anyway, so yeah, so that's, those are some of the upcoming, am I missing anything?
Shut the fire!
For Yuzo Koshiro, Shinobi.
Shinobi? Yeah.
Entry and Odyssey.
That is a good one, Shinobi for sure. Yeah. We've done it.
Was that soloist list upcoming or?
Oh no, those are all things that we do in the show already.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, so like people like Lindsay Sterling have played with us.
And Richard Talk with that.
Richard Jakes, yeah, is the guy who did the Outrun stuff. So go on YouTube and put in Video Games Live and Richard Jakes or Video Games Live and Lindsay Sterling. We did a really cool, you know, Lindsay Sterling did her Zelda thing, right? We all know her from Zelda and the Skyrim thing. So we did that Zelda, but with a live orchestra. It was and her playing, you know. Yeah, it was pretty cool, badass. In the back there, yeah.
How long does it take you to put together a show with the video and everything? Like, how do you go about doing
Yeah, so like a segment in the show usually takes me about 2 weeks. So like I'll arrange all the music first, and then I create a click track for it, and then I do all the video editing in the show. So it takes maybe 2 or 3 days to do the video editing, and then we create the lights. So all the lights are all synchronized. So I'll sit down with my lighting director, designer, and say, okay, when this turns blue, you know, I wanted to do this and that and stuff. So it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks per segment. But then when we do the actual show itself, like on the day of the show, we roll in at like 8 in the morning. We have the whole stage and everything set up by 1. We have lunch. We start rehearsals with the choir from 2 to 3. And then from 3 to 6, we rehearse with the orchestra. People come in at 6:30. And then they open the doors at 6:30. We usually play at 7:38. And so we do everything in a day. We come in, yeah, everything. It's tight. I mean, there's 7 people that travel with me, and they've been with me 10 years touring. And these guys are like, I mean, they've toured with U2 and Aerosmith and Van Halen, and like these are like professional folks who know what they're doing, and you know they have over 200 years of touring experience. We've been in the trenches and everything. You know, Joel here, who's heads one of the GSOs. He was on tour with us last summer, and he'll tell you like all the things. Like it's amazing because it's such a complicated, complex show, and when you have 100 people on stage, and they're all wearing click tracks, and it's so technical. Like one person like just backs their chair up. It's like poof, and like the whole section just lost their earpieces or something, like a click track or something goes wrong. There's so many things that could go wrong, and every night something, 2, 3, 4 things go wrong every night. But we have like backup plans to our backup plans. Like when you do a live show, you have to have like everything, like make sure everything's together and stuff. So we've played so many shows now, like 300 shows, that when something goes wrong, instantly, like we've had projectors go out and then 2 minutes later, another projector is up. We have it like hidden behind the conductor, right in front of them where no one can see, just beaming right, just in case, you know. So there's so many different things. So yeah, that's. But it takes us one full day to, not even half a day to set everything up. We got it down to a science at this point. Yeah.
Loaded Wolf Trap at midnight.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Sometimes we'll load in right starting at midnight too. Yeah.
You ever considered or done any Fantasy Star online?
Fantasy Star Online.
Or just fantasy period?
Hum me some. How does Fantasy Star go? Hum me the music. See, that's why it's not in the show. No, it's just. I'm kidding. That's a bad joke. No, I'll have to go look at that one. I'm not too familiar with that soundtrack, but I'll check that out on YouTube. Which song should I do? What's the?
Well, one of my favorite ones from episode 3, the card one, and Ben Harper one, I liked it. Was Idol.
What's it called?
It's called Idol, and I know there's like one in every band.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. All right, yeah, because I'm not familiar with it. I'm not a big turn-based RPG guy, so I never got into the game much. But same with like Final Fantasy. Like I never actually played the game, but I watched it a lot because I love the characters, I love the storylines. Of course, I love the music, but I never actually played it. Not a huge. Yeah.
Are there any specific games or franchises that you haven't done orchestrations of that you'd like to?
He said, are there any games that we haven't done that we'd like to? That list that you saw is pretty much it.
Oh.
Those are the ones that we haven't done yet that we want to do, that I'm working on.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like a list of things you've already completed, but
No, those are a list of things that we're going to be doing, yeah, that I
Okay.
want to do that we haven't done yet, yeah.
All right, I misinterpreted that.
No
Sorry.
worries. Green Zelda show.
You sort of answered Phil, the people that tour with you, are those like the Samurai Ordops, SM and all that, or are these like Ordops and?
No, it's you hit it, nailed it the first time. It's a lighting director, LD, video guy, video operator, audio engineer, and then a conductor, and then soloist, whether it's Lauren Travi or Jillian. Is Jillian here? Jill Versa? No. A soloist, and then a stage manager who also doubles as our production manager and merchandise manager, and then myself. And that's the 7.
Okay, so those are like part of the company, they're not like house engineers?
Correct. No, we never use house things. We travel because each one of those elements are very important to our show. Like I know, like the Zelda show and the Final Fantasy show, like they don't tour with people like that, but they don't have like a light show. You know, they just kind of roll in and say, just make it blue and purple, you know, whatever. But because everything, you know, we bring all of our own equipment with us too, which the other, you know, shows don't do. The other video game concerts don't do, but we travel with a touring, you know, a truck that drives all over the place with us that has all of our gear in it, you know, so very important. Yeah, in the front.
Yeah, so my question is, you sort of touched on this a little bit earlier, but what's your opinion of some of the other touring video game live performance shows?
Touring or other touring shows. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that there's so many, and that there's other ones out there, you know, and they do, like you said, very different from us, you know. Distance World's a great show, you know, very upscale, very classy, kind of, you know, very different from our, you know, again, I wanted to be kind of like rock and roll and excitement and fun, you know, and so it's very different, and I think there's a market for, you know, for all of them. And as a video game composer for over 25 years, I want there to be as many as possible, you know? And so, yeah, so I think it's, you know, I think it's cool. I mean, there's a couple out there that like blatantly like rip us off, you know, and use the same wording as we do, they use the same fonts, and, you know, it's kind of, you know, crappy, but, you know, what are you gonna do? It's the highest form of flattery, right? There you go. Yeah, Ash.
Yes. 2 questions.
Yeah.
First, what is your favorite video game soundtrack of all time?
Final Fantasy VIII. Favorite video game soundtrack.
Good.
Yeah.
Second, what is your favorite video game arrangement that you yourself have performed?
My favorite video game arrangement. I mean, the Castlevania Rock thing is really cool to me because we did it just as an orchestra, and I just didn't think it just didn't work for me. It was dun, 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 dun. Like the way we had originally arranged it didn't like excite me, you know. And then you just add drums, bass, and guitar, and all of a sudden it became a lot more exciting. So that's one of my favorites. Let me see. Shadow of the Colossus, I loved working with Ko Otani on that. Wait, all segments. This is, every segment we do is this line here. Classic Arcade, Metal Gear, Kingdom Hearts, God of War, Tron, Zelda, Myst, Castlevania, Sonic, Bioshock. Libre Fatale is one of my favorites. But I mean, I didn't really arrange anything to that, it was just done. That's, you know, Uematsu, genius. Let me see. Shadows, big. Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, one of my favorites. Snake Eater's good. Shadow of the Colossus, one of my favorites. Tetris Opera, the GSO we worked with the Gamer Symphony Orchestra on that. Is one of my, that's arrangement-wise, that's fucking kick-ass. And we're putting that on the album as well. Even my Pokemon arrangement too. I'm not just saying that because you have hot Poke women with you. I don't know. It's actually, yeah, Pokemon is one of my favorites.
Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all. And hopefully not the diseases you were talking about. Gotta catch them all. Awful. Rated E for everyone? I think that went out the window a long time ago. We probably have time for one or two more questions. Anyone? Yes, right here.
Yeah, I actually came in all the way from Toronto.
You came in from Toronto. All right. Rock on.
Before this panel, I didn't even know that the Kickstarter exists. I'm just wondering, like, how do I throw my money at you to receive?
Sure, no, it's a great, look, I mean, the thing about the Kickstarter is the main thing, if anyone who followed the Kickstarter knows this, I mean, it was, I wanted to, again, I didn't do this to make money, I did it because I wanted to get as much video game music, high quality video game music in the hands of people and for as little money as possible. So like literally like, you know, our $10 donation, you were getting like 3 albums, you know, 25 bucks. So what we did is, so the answer to your question is if you go to videogameslive.com, this is only for the next 2 weeks because then I have to cut it off. But for the next 2 weeks, videogameslive.com, it's the #1 lead story on the front page. Just say, click now. We have an all digital tiers still. There's I think it's 15, 25, 50, 100, 250, and I think 1,000 are the levels. So from the, you know, bottom all the way up. But the stuff, my whole thing was I wanted to give triple back, at least triple back what people pledge. So if people pledge like 50 bucks, they got like $200 worth of stuff. And it's legit too, it's not just like, oh, I mean, I want to give as much as possible. Again, the idea was to get the music into the hands of people who are interested. So, yeah. So it's still going on, but only for 2 weeks, and then we have to cut it off because we have to start sending shit out. Last question? Yeah?
You've been talking about improvements that you've done to the show, that you wish you would have done to the show. Like, let's say the budget isn't too much of an issue. What else?
It always is, though, but budget is always an issue. But go ahead.
What else would you integrate into the show?
To make the show bigger? Fucking cannons, right? Confetti cannons.
Correctly timed.
We used to have lasers in the show. And yeah, like when we did our first Hollywood Bowl show, we spent $25,000 just on one night of lasers. We had 8 YAGs. YAGs are like, and we had mirrors set up everywhere. And even when we did our PBS special, I brought the lasers back, you know, because I spent almost $1 million on that one show. And like a typical budget for Video Games Live, like in a normal, like, you know, again, 2,000 to 3,000, is usually $100,000. And so people think, oh, you make tons of money. Again, I don't do this for the money. Do the math, right? If there's 3,000 people and we're selling tickets, that's the one big difference actually between Video Games Live and every other video game show that's imitating us. Is that their ticket prices are like 75, 100, 200 bucks, right? That's bullshit to me, I don't care. So our ticket, you go to any Video Games Live show, tickets, again, we don't control it because the local promoter does, but I, try to demand that we have at least tickets starting at 19 bucks, 20 bucks. Our average ticket price is $40. That's the average ticket price, right? And so again, do the math. 3,000 people times 40 bucks is 120,000. It costs us 100,000 just to put the show on, and then the promoter takes his money, right? So we do shows, and Joel will tell you, we do shows, we break even, I don't care. I'm up there doing video game music in front of thousands of people. You think I care if I'm making money or not? It's like a dream come true for me. But, so, yeah. I'll tell you two great stories I know, because I know Al's got to get his thing going on next, and then I'm out of here. But two cool stories along the same lines. So we were at, I forget what symphony it was, but it was a couple years ago, and I told this story during my TED Talk. I did want to see a cool TED Talk on video games. I did one this summer. It's on just Google, yeah, the internet says it. But I told this story, a true story, about three years ago. We're setting up Video Games Live, and we're right about to go on. And the woman in the symphony comes over to me, and she's got tears in her eyes, and she says, she goes, look, I just want to tell you that I've been playing oboe in the symphony for 20 years now, and for the last 10 years, I've been trying to get my teenage son, he's 17 years old, I've been trying to get him to come see his mom play. There was nothing that would make my heart more full of joy and love is to see my son see me perform. It's what I've worked for my whole life, and he's never come to see me. And then she starts crying, and tears come down her cheeks, and she's like, until tonight. Tonight's the very first time my son is going to see me perform. I just want to thank you. She's not only that, but he's brought all his friends with him too, and all he's been talking about for the last 2 weeks in school is how his mom's going to play Halo on stage tonight, or whatever. So that's like some serious shit, right? That like hit me. I started crying. I'm like, oh my God. Like, because when you first create this stuff, you never think that it's going to affect people in that way. And then I'll tell you another really funny story. Along the same lines, this woman comes up to me in the symphony, and she goes, and she had tears in her eyes too, a lot of crying backstage. And and she said, she goes, my son, he plays that Warcraft game all the time. He goes, and all his friends are online, and he doesn't, he goes, she goes, I feel like there's something wrong with him. Like he doesn't go out socially. Like when we were growing up, we used to go out and play, and we used to